getting emotional about it. These things that have been so hard my entire life to deal with seemingly now are non-existent. And I can't think of a bigger reward or it's a gift. It's incredible. And our lines of communication, in my opinion, have opened up immensely.
I don't think we've been together for a very long time. They've never been better, ever.
Welcome to Still In It, 5-MeO DMT Stories. I'm your host, Arthur. Whether you're curious, preparing for your own journey, or reflecting on past experiences, we hope these stories resonate, inform, and inspire. Please enjoy today's episode.
This podcast is brought to you by Enfold, offering the world's most comprehensive 5-MeO DMT program. To learn more, visit enfold.org. That's enfold.org, or click on the link in the show notes.
Well, Jen and Ryan, thanks so much for being here. This feels like a really special episode of the podcast. It's our first time having a couple on the show, and yeah, really appreciate you guys taking the time.
We're happy to be here.
Yeah, excited to be here, bud.
It's like a scheduled date for us too.
Yeah, nice. I'd love to start just by getting a sense of what life is like for you two as a married couple, parenting a couple beautiful kids and running a business together. Do your best to let us know what life looks like these days for you two.
You want to take that?
You want to take that?
It's a big question. But.
Yeah, I mean, life for us looks, it looks much the same, I would say. However, it feels a lot different. On a personal level, there's a really big sense of ease for myself. It's kind of the easiest way for me to describe it. So it seems like all of these activities and all these things that you're doing on a daily basis are just flowing a lot more freely.
I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, in terms of like, we still have the same jobs. We still live in the same place. Our kids are still 4 and 8. And like on the outside surface, yes, our life looks the same. But you're right. In terms of how it feels to be in the life feels a lot different.
Yeah.
A lot different. But we also are people who tend to, for better or for worse, tend to like a full plate. And I don't know if that's changed, but just like how we're filling that plate and then how we're moving through things feels a lot more in line and peaceful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, as far as like a full plate goes, I don't think I actually like as much of a full plate as I thought I did. That was something that I sort of had and held on to as like a part of my identity. It was like a part of this like superpower that I had, that I could accomplish a ton and that I did really well when my back was against the wall. Coming to this realization, whether that was serving me in a good way, it started to become pretty evident that it wasn't. It was actually causing a lot of the issues and anxiety and angst that I was dealing with on a day-to-day basis, whether it be with Jen, work, parents, kids, myself mainly, like internally, just these feelings like there was always something to do. Mm-hmm. Arthur, this is also where you come in, because the amount of times I feel a little bit of something coming on, or whether I'm kind of in this, a really good peaceful state or whatever, just saying to myself, there's nothing to do, which I heard from you a few times during the intensive. And it really resonated with me in a way of just being like, in a moment where you feel like you've got to be somewhere else, it's a really grounding, statement.
Yeah, beautiful. To make clear for people who are listening and don't know this, Jen, you attended first in December, and then Ryan, you followed suit last month in May of 2025. Curious, what was it like for the two of you to navigate that process separately, with Jen, you preparing to have presumably this pretty big experience first, and Ryan, you holding down the fort at home and then going separately? I guess a good place to start, and what was that like in that partnership dynamic?
Well, Ryan was incredibly supportive. Like when the opportunity came up, like I was the one that was like, I mean, we talked about my like story about time and busyness, and I was like, I don't have time. And he was like, tell me exactly why you don't have time. Like, he was there to like break down that bullshit story I was telling myself. And he's like, say yes, I'll book the flight. All you have to do is say yes. And so like he stood, like he was so incredibly supportive, and I am so grateful to have a partner who's supportive of like my healing journey. And also Ryan's an incredible dad. So it isn't like a second thought for me to like leave my home with my children. Ryan's got it. It was the longest I had ever left both of the kids. Like, I had gone individual, like for 3 or 4 days, but that was the longest I'd ever been away from the kids. And to not have like contact or anything like that, I mean, I was a bit anxious about it. And then really, my kids are the most safe they can be. They're with their dad. They're in good hands. I'm going to go do this. This is the best thing I can do for myself, that I can do for my family. So yeah, it was such an incredibly positive experience for me. It was a very unknown experience when I was heading in. Like, we both have had friends who had been, so I wasn't like completely blind going in. And obviously talking to you guys, you're very good at kind of explaining what you're heading into and all the pre-work, but again, no real sense of exactly what it was going to be like. And then when it was Ryan's turn, I was like, any question you have, let me know, I'll answer it. But I was answering any questions with like, in my experience. Like, I didn't want to put any like, oh, it's going to be like this. I was like, in my experience, this is what like I was feeling, or I did. For me, it was like, so trying really hard to just be like, your experience could be very, very different. And then I just was so excited he was going. I was so happy. So I was like, I got everything covered. It was actually good because there's a lot of stuff with our business that like I typically have not been in charge of or had to deal with. Yeah. So it actually like, unless it's dire straits, like I'm just going to figure it out. So it was actually really nice on the business side. I mean, on our home side, like, I think we both feel the same way. Like, one of us, like, we're both very comfortable with each other parenting, but we have a really incredible group of friends that were aware on both times that, one of us was away. So they really stepped in to like help with the kids, which was beautiful. We're very lucky with that. And then when Ryan was there, it was like, oh man, I know the schedule. So it was like, he was just like right here all week. And then on Wednesday, I woke up and I was like, I definitely need to do some breath work and meditation. Like, I was super anxious on Wednesday. Just, you want the best, right? You want your partner to have that experience, and you want them to be safe, and you want them to feel all those good, wonderful feelings and have all of that. And then, yeah, I mean, I was a bit of a wreck. One of our other friends who has an office close to ours, who has recently been to Enfold as well, I text him that morning. I was like, whew. Okay, walk me off the ledge here.
Wednesday being Ryan's full release day. Yeah.
I mean, on Tuesday, I was like, oh, it's so fun. It's the best day. Yeah. So I just, each day, it's kind of like, I'm like kind of looking at the time and I'm like, oh, he's going to be like, this is what he's doing. Or I wonder how that's going. Or like, but really like just genuine, like so grateful. Like, Ryan was like, if you're comfortable with me saying, you were in a pretty hard place before you went.
Yeah.
And I think had tried so many things to deal with some of like the issues that were like hurting him, and it just wasn't working. So there was just like, honestly, like for me, like a huge amount of excitement and like a huge amount of relief that he was going there.
Once I had booked to go, I could like see this like excitement. I can't wait. And it was kind of neat getting to see her post, you know what I mean? And then the months following and how that kind of transition is going on. It's actually helping me, I think, as I'm a lot closer to it than Jen currently is, kind of helping me along that way a little bit.
Yeah. Ryan, what do you recall it being like when Jen came home from her intensive in December?
The thing that I remember the most is like physical, like her face and her smile and her eyes. It was not like I hadn't seen it before. We've been together for 23 years, but it was just like, and I don't want to say it was back, but it kind of was. It was like these parts of her that were, deactivated were regenerated again. To not like her smile was different, but it was larger and bigger, and her eyes were brighter. And times where like you would laugh or you would smile, like you were just, there was no holding back. It was just all there, is kind of how I can explain that. As far as the interaction, there was more things that were actually keeping us a little more separated. Like she would have some calls to go on, some meditation, some breath work that she was actively doing. And I was, I had not done this and wasn't doing any of that at that time. And seeing her take some time and explaining like how it was kind of non-negotiable. That was another thing. I understand it a heck of a lot more now, being on the other side of this as well, because it really is. It is non-negotiable to us anyway.
To us, yeah. Which I think for me, that in the past wasn't something I was super good at. Everything was negotiable, especially when it came to like my own like self-care, and that changed for sure. And now that we've both been, it's just part of what we do. We will able to communicate with each other. That's like, I actually really need the 12 minutes or the 15 minutes or the half an hour or whatever it is to really go. So like, can you do the kids, or like, can you carve out space? And that is very well respected on both sides. And actually how Ryan was saying, like, maybe that I'm further along, that's helping him. It's actually really helping me that he's closer, because he is coming back. And it's like, for me, I had off a little bit of like doing my breath work, doing my meditation, like making sure. And then it was like, oh yeah, this commitment that I see Ryan doing, I'm like, that's it. That is how we carry on in this space. So having both of us been just makes it's almost really not a conversation. It's just like, this is what we do.
We had a really cool moment the other day. We were doing a breath work outside together before the kids woke up. They woke up pretty early. It's beautiful up here in the Okanagan now. So we're out on the patio, and our boys are 4 and 8 and they're fired up. They're busy. They want to get after stuff like right away.
They're full tilt.
They're full tilt. So we were doing the vessel breath work together, yeah. And they came out and both did not say a thing. And they sat down beside us and chilled for the entire thing. It was on a speaker behind us, wasn't headphones. So there was this guided portion to it. And like these two boys who would normally come out and be like, what's for breakfast? Can I run around in circles? I'm going down to do this. What can we do? Can we play hockey? Like all these things, just like they could feel this energy and just rolled right into it and just hung out. It was incredible. We were like, wow. So this is a thing, hey?
Yeah.
Becoming a family affair. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
How would you say these new shared practices, how are those changing the way that you're able to show up for each other or just for life in general compared to what life was like in the absence of those shared practices?
Yeah, I would say on a personal level, I haven't been a very communicative person. I always said like, oh, I'm a family of 3 boys, and we just didn't talk a lot, and this is part of me, and it's not part of me. I really enjoy talking quite a bit, and those things were always there, but I would stop myself before wanting to say something, and oftentimes if it was something that was more difficult, and it doesn't have to be incredibly difficult, it could be very, very minute on its difficulty level, but I'd just be like, okay, maybe I'm just not going to go there, or not say that, or not respond. And that, for me to you, that's the wall seems to have disappeared. Our lines of communication, in my opinion, have opened up immensely.
I don't think we've been together for a very long time. They've never been better, ever.
Yeah, we have had these mornings where we're making breakfast, and then we'll drop the kids off and come back, and something will come up, and we'll end up just talking for an hour. Thankfully we have a bit of this freedom with being in the same business, and we don't necessarily have to be there at a certain time or something like that. So that's helpful. But it's been really cool to have maybe one prompt or one cue or something like that turns into an hour and a half of great discussion.
I think that, and if you don't feel the same, say something, but I think that we see each other so much more as humans that just want to be loved. And that the fear of like saying something to your partner and then not being loved, or the insecurity, like that feels gone. Like there feels like there's just this like totally deeper sense of, I got you, you're my person, I love you. Neither of us are perfect. We all have insecurities. We all just want to be seen and loved. And I'm like, if there's anybody in this world that I'm going to see and love, it's you. And our kids. Yeah. But you know, so it's like, it just feels like this, and not that we didn't have security in our relationship before. It feels, to me, it feels a lot more secure. I feel safe in a way that I like maybe didn't before.
Feel very safe. And for me, it comes back to that word of ease. Everything just seems super easy. Used to seemingly live inside me that was just very, very difficult. Like seems to be a bit wiped clean.
Yeah, what was it, Ryan, if you're open to sharing, that eventually compelled you to go? I imagine by the time you decided to commit to this process, you had, of course, seen changes in Jen. You had supported her through the process. What was that moment for you, or what was the driving factor for you to say, okay, it's my turn now, I've got to do that?
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny. I have a good friend who had been quite a few years ago. And when he initially told me about his experience with 5-MeO DMT, I was just really intrigued. Not because I had a huge psychedelic background, or I had zero, actually very, very little experience with any sort of medicines. And it was just the way he was describing it to me was just super intriguing. I knew him and I knew a bit about him, and the way he was like explaining it, it really piqued a lot of curiosity in me. So Jen ran into a friend in November, and she had just been, and they got chatting, and then Jen was talking a little bit more about it and proposed. There was an opportunity, a spot that had opened up in this December session, and Jen was bringing it up, and I was like, oh, she wants me to go. This is great. And so I thought she was bringing it for me, and then quickly realized that she had this strong interest in going. And so that happened that way. And then I had just wanted to do this for quite some time. And then following Jen going and seeing and experiencing her, I was, I would have gone anytime. But like most people in the situation I was in was, I don't know, the time. Where's the time? And is it right? Is it wrong? When's you're just like, I was in a place where I didn't have time to do anything. So
you were in again, if you're comfortable, like in a pretty, a spiral of, just like a negative spiral that like you weren't able to find like a window or a door to get out of. And I didn't want to pressure him into going, because I think you have to choose it for yourself, and you have to want to go, and you have to want to do the work. But I knew that he did. Like I really knew that he wanted to not be where he was. So there was a couple times, I think I forwarded him the available dates, like maybe two or three times. And then like,
just in case,
like email and like Instagram, like, oh, look at this, there's an opening in May. And then it was like, we had like a pretty frank conversation at one point that I was like, we have to try something else. So like all we have been trying are not working. Choose something. It's got to be something, like we have to choose something else. So whether it's different types of therapy or something.
Yeah, I was in kind of a pretty bad place for, I would say, quite an extended period of time, like in years. But definitely the 6 months prior to Enfold, pretty heightened version of it. So it kind of became one of those probably like non-negotiable items for Jen, where it was like, you have to figure something out here. And that's what marriage, partnership, all this stuff's about, is that it's nice to have somebody there that can see these things and actually like help you get to the other side of them and help you move along down that path.
Yeah. Are you open to sharing just a bit, Ryan, about what that cycle or the period you were in pre-Enfold was marked by, just so that people can hopefully relate to it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I diagnosed with ADHD Coming back to that, like back against the wall, multiple things on your plate, we tend to let things get into a time circle that's super urgent before we do anything about them. And then we can bang out twice as much in that period of time. So that was something that I've learned a lot about me over the past couple of years that feeds a lot into this. But I used to drink, I don't know, I wouldn't say I abused alcohol in a way that was like all the time, but I definitely wouldn't be able to turn it off when I did. So I would binge drink, and that was, just something I did. I used to smoke. I used to use cannabis. These were all things that definitely, as I'm realizing post now, which I can get to wrap this up later, are things that I go to my mouth with. But they all just led to this depression and this trying to numb it. And then, so about just under 3 years ago, I stopped drinking. It was actually really easy for me. I've realized I never really liked it all that much anyway. And over the last, 2.5 years, I've kind of gone through these cycles of going up, down, where I'm in and out of like a good spot with it. In the last 6 months leading up to Enfold, I lost a few employees. One of them went away for a couple months back to see family, and a long-term employee that's been with us for like 4 years. And during the time she was away, I lost a couple full-time employees in kind of a time of year where we're on more of a skeleton crew, I'd say. I had to inject myself back into the business, and it turned into just these super long sleep-deprived days that brought me back into these habits, not drinking, but other things like cannabis use and things like that. I'd be rolling through literally a 14 or 16 hour day, getting in at 5 o'clock in the morning and getting home at 9 o'clock at night, and then needing a way to, still being energized and needing a way to sort of just like chill out. And what cannabis would do for me would put me into this state where I need to like eat something, because I would generally not eat during the day all that well. And I would eat a bunch of shitty food and a lot of sugar, things like that, feel really bad, have a super broken sleep, and just on repeat for months. I got to a point where I actually was having some conversations with some staff at work, and I was always able to hold it together, I suppose, from my opinion. I got to this state, though, where I felt like out of body having these conversations with people. Like I was like just this shell of a person or a soul. And there was this one conversation where I couldn't handle a situation that happened. It was just somebody not showing up for work. And that was kind of when it triggered me that I just can't go on any longer, what I'm doing. And I went home and talked to Jen and just said, I need help. I need help with work. I'm not serving anyone there. All these hours I'm putting in they're not doing me any good. They're not doing anyone else any good. And I need to do something about it. The more I stayed away and the more attention I started to pay to myself and sleep, and the better things started to get. And then I started to get in a much better place prior to Enfold, doing a lot of the work. Anyway, post going to Enfold, it's been, a month and 5 weeks or 6 weeks or something now. Like I have not bitten my fingernails, which I've done my entire existence. I was like, Jen, it's really weird. I'm not biting my fingernails, but I'm not like actively, this isn't a thing I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to do any of this. I'm like stopping these habits. And Jen's like, yeah, you're also not drinking like 6 bubble waters a night. At night, I would have like, bubblies or Perrier's or whatever, and just drink these things, and started kind of looking into these like oral fixations that I had and realizing it is related to this like early trauma that, the theory being in the first year of your life, from birth to year 1, this lack of having your needs met. And I just like, I'm still like, I get, my whole body lights up when just like thinking about that or talking about it, because it's absolutely blown my mind. These challenges and I'm getting emotional about it. These things that have been so hard my entire life to deal with, seemingly now are non-existent. And I can't think of a bigger reward, or it's a gift. It's incredible. And it's what's really amazing about this whole thing is that this was not an intention. This wasn't something I was trying to solve. I had some, like a lot of people, we have some issues with some family stuff or some work stuff or some challenges. Like that sort of fits in and is easier to understand now. But these things that I keep looking at my fingernails because it's actually just mind blowing to me that I don't have any desire to do this. To, I don't know, what would you call it? Like, be attracted to these habits anymore. It just seems so easy. I don't know. Yeah. Did I even answer the question?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, and then some. And I think there's so much in there that people will relate to. And I think, to be clear, to some people listening, like not biting one's fingernails can seem like a small thing, but to us, it's a signal of something much deeper. Like that background anxiety that was likely driving these behaviors seems to have been relieved from you, and that's a huge thing.
Didn't acknowledge or know what anxiety was. It seems to have gone away. And it's not like it hasn't. I've had a scenario in the past over a couple of days where I felt a bit of it come up, and I was able to carry on with the work and acknowledge and just let it go and move through it.
When you knew, it was easier for you to find the reason, and then we were able to talk through it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, okay, that's causing this. Why do you think it's causing this?
But for an easy way to explain the last couple of years, I'll say post-drinking, a lot of people would assume, okay, so I'm going to quit drinking and life will be easier. It actually got more difficult for me because there wasn't a way to numb any of that, right? I had to sort of face it. And like darkest internal times I've had are post quitting drinking. The term I think I used to Stephen Austin, that I would feel like I was boiling over. Like I didn't know how else to explain it, but I would just feel like I would wake up and it would start and I would be thinking about something. It would continually raise and raise and raise and raise as we got through the day, to the point where I needed to do something about it at night to turn it off. Yeah.
I think it was also like very difficult on our relationship, or I had a fair amount of like codependent behaviors because, I mean, Ryan's had real highs and lows. I think the ADHD and the depression, it's like when we're up, we're really up, and when we're down, we're really down, and you're kind of like riding a bit of a wave, which I feel like that is not the case anymore. But if we were heading on a low, my way of dealing with it would be like, I've got the kids, I'll do this. We kind of like get out of his way. And like he was able to communicate, like that actually makes it worse because then I actually feel more alone. Whereas I was like, we'll just like, I'll take the kids, we'll go do something else. I'll make sure the house is clean. I'll kind of like skirting around the real issue and then not wanting to bring certain things up because is that going to make it worse? And like now I'm like, Ryan can handle it. Like we're in a good place. We are going to be able to get through whatever we need to get through together. I'm not worried about him now. I think I was worried.
Yeah. Yeah, I was worried.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's all beautiful to hear, and really appreciate you sharing that, Ryan, and you too, Jen, like just being vulnerable and sharing how that was for both of you individually and together. And I'm curious, if you had to name one thing, what would you say, and maybe you'll have different answers, but what would you say is most changed, or what is most different in your partnership as a result of 5-MeO-DMT and attending these intensives?
I feel like it's fun again. Like I'm excited. So because it feels easy and because it feels like so safe and because it feels so loving, like it also feels fun. Like we went, yeah, like I like we're excited to spend time together. And yeah, I don't know. The word fun kind of came up.
I love that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree to that. I think we're both a lot more present. We're not focused on the next, like currently I'm going to go roast coffee after this. And I would say pre-Enfold, I would already be there planning my roast day out mentally, whereas that'll happen when I get there. And that's something that I think in our daily existence now, we're just there all the time for each other. And it's a lot of fun. I think we're just like there's just less barriers, right? It's not a reason to find a reason to not be happy. We have things that make us happy and make us feel good. And why not, make those happen?
Is returning to a place like Enfold or sharing an experience like that at the same time something that you would consider doing, or something that you could see at some point in the future doing together?
Is there open spots?
Can we come now?
We'll take a look. Yeah, we'll find a spot for you. Yeah, we like you guys a lot. So.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm really glad. I think it's so different for every person. I'm actually quite pleased that we did it individually first. Mm-hmm. Just because I think for me, I'm naturally like a caregiver and concerned about, and I think it would have been a different experience having Ryan there. I would have been inclined to hone in and focus, and whereas it was easier for me to just go do me, and I really needed to go do me, so I was happy that I did it alone. And I think for you too, it's like you're not considering like something that like in that group setting that you guys create, there is such a beautiful container and you feel so safe to share. And then ultimately these people, they start out as strangers and then they become incredibly important to you, but I'm not going to run into them at the grocery store, and I don't live with them, and I don't have the history with them that I do with Ryan. So there's not like a filter of like, if I say this, is there a consequence to saying this? Which I don't know even in that scenario if I would have felt that way. But for me, I feel like I'm really glad that I did it alone. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, all you guys there make such a safe, great container that I think individually have concerns going in as somebody who hasn't done any of the stuff. That kind of all just goes away when you get there, and doing even some of the prep calls really help. Just like talking to Steve was like, wow, I just don't want to get off this phone call. This is amazing. But like to Jen's point, I'm really happy we did it individually first. I think without a doubt, it would be hard for me to say, looking at it, whether I would have fully participated the first time if Jen was there. But that is a reflection of, I think, the state of our relationship and things that were going on. You know what I mean? Whereas if that's kind of not a concern for couples, I can't see it being a negative experience or anything but a positive experience for couples. Yeah. I do feel like you really want to, just
whether you go together,
fully participate.
Yeah, whether you go together or whether you go individually, I think that's just a totally personal option. Mm-hmm. But I am so incredibly grateful that we've both had this experience. It's almost like a second language to speak now. Mm-hmm. Like that we
love that.
Yeah, a set of shared tools, a language that we share. Like it's added to our values, the level of communication, the level of intimacy, the level of the ease. Yeah, what a gift also to have it at this time of our lives. We have a busy life, but like at the same time, like we feel incredibly grateful to be in this space with like young kids and growing businesses and aging parents. Like what a place to be in, to be able to tackle those or be a part of those things going forward. So
yeah, beautifully put. Well, guys, I can't think of a better place to wrap up our conversation, but is there any closing words that you would offer to a couple that is maybe about to navigate the same or a similar process that you have? Maybe they're about to attend together, or one half of that partnership is about to go.
I mean, it's hard. Yeah.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, so happy for you. It's everything beyond the actual medicine side is it's an incredible just time away. I would say that whether you might have anxiety about it or not, I mean, just don't sweat it. Just go through with it, because it's like, again, that container you guys create is so incredible. And I would say to anyone that's on the fence, as somebody who, I'll put it this way, as like an avid golfer, somebody who would like, okay, I got a choice here. I could go on a golf trip or I could go do this. Go to Enfold. It will change your life.
It'll make every other golf trip so much better.
It's don't wait. There's not really a better
time.
Better time.
Yeah. And no disrespect to golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. 100%.
I think it's also, I mean, yeah, to anybody on their way, congratulations. Like, it's very hard to choose yourself. And it is, you know, like, life is busy, finances are a thing, like, you over your time to other people. To choose yourself is really hard. So, like, a huge congratulations to do that, because, like we were talking, it's very seldom that, like, you're gonna wake up one day and you're like, here you go, we've cleared your schedule and you have nothing to do for 5 days. Please just go do you. You know, like, it's, you have to make the choice that it's important enough to do, because it's not going to be served on a platter to you. It's not going to just come up. So you have to choose it. And it's just so worth the choice.
Yeah.
Unlocks a lot.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, guys. We really appreciate this really unique perspective. And thank you so much for letting us know how it's been for you.
Thanks, Arthur.
Thank you.